Everyone says that time is the most valuable thing in life. We nod in agreement when we hear that. Yet, we live as if we have endless tomorrows. We postpone important tasks, waste hours on meaningless things, and comfort ourselves by saying, "There's still plenty of time." But the truth is, time waits for no one. Every passing minute is a part of our life gone forever. And the saddest part is, most of us only realize the value of time after we have already lost too much of it. In a small, peaceful town, a father and his son lived together in a modest house. The father was a hard-working man who woke up early every day to work, steadily building his life with persistence and discipline. In contrast, the son lived in a completely different way. He often woke up late, spent most of his time wandering around, hanging out with friends, and avoiding all responsibilities. To him, life was still long, and everything could be left for tomorrow. The father watched his son waste each passing day and couldn't help but feel worried. He wasn't afraid that his son would fail. He was only afraid that the boy wouldn't realize he was losing the most important thing of all. The days that followed passed in almost the same way. In the morning, as the sunlight just touched the front porch, the father had already begun his work, while the son remained curled up in his blanket, letting time quietly slip away. By noon, he would lazily wake up, eat something quickly, and then leave the house again, continuing his aimless outings with friends. In the afternoon, he would sit at a small tea stall, laughing and chatting, watching others, busy with their lives without a single care. At night, he would tell himself, "Tomorrow I'll start doing something." But that tomorrow never truly came. The father observed everything in silence. At first, he had gently advised and reminded his son about responsibility, about the future, about the opportunities slowly passing by. But those words seemed to go in one ear and out the other. To the son, such things still felt distant, not urgent enough to require change right now. What worried the father was not that his son had not yet succeeded, but that he did not realize he was standing still while life kept moving forward. Each day, he was losing a portion of his time without even noticing. And the most dangerous part was that this loss happened quietly, without noise, without warning. The son always believed he was still young, that he had plenty of time to try, to fail, and to start over. But he did not understand that those do-nothing days were slowly turning into a habit. And once a habit is formed, it silently shapes an entire life. Meanwhile, the father grew more and more silent. He no longer spoke as much as before, no longer scolded or pushed his son. Yet deep inside, his worry grew day by day. He knew that if his son did not soon realize the value of time, there might come a day when, upon looking back, there would no longer be enough time left to make things right. The difference between the two became increasingly clear. One lived each day with a clear purpose, while the other let time drift by aimlessly. One understood that every hour had value, while the other spent time as if it were endless. And in that quiet distance, a question slowly formed in the father's heart. How could he make his son understand something that words alone could not convey? One evening, as the golden glow of sunset bathed the small house, the father stood quietly in front of an old wooden cabinet in the corner of the room. He opened it slowly, as if searching for something that had been kept for a long time. After a moment, He took out an old watch, carefully wrapped in a soft cloth. The watch was no longer new, but its hands still moved steadily, each gentle tick echoing softly in the quiet space. The next morning, the father called his son over. The boy approached with his usual sluggishness, still not fully awake. The father placed the watch in his hand and said, "Take this watch to the market. Ask as many people as you can how much they are willing to pay for it. Don't sell it, just ask. Then come back and tell me." The son was slightly surprised. The task sounded simple, even a bit strange, but not difficult. He shrugged, put the watch in his pocket, and walked out of the house. The road to the market felt familiar, just like every other day. But today, instead of wandering aimlessly, he carried a small purpose. The market was as lively as ever, people calling out, bargaining, vehicles passing by. He took out the watch and began asking. The first person was a fabric seller. The man held the watch, turned it over a few times, and said, "It's old. I'll give you 500. The boy nodded silently and moved on. The second person, a grocery seller, examined it a bit more carefully and said, "Maybe 700, if it still works well." The third, a Metallgutseller, said, 1,000 at most, not a penny more. The boy went from stall to stall, asking many different people. Each person gave a different price. No one agreed with one another, and no one truly cared much about the watch. By evening, he returned home. The father asked, "What did you learn?" The boy replied, "Everyone gave a different price. No one said the same thing." The father simply nodded, offering no further explanation. After a moment of silence, he said, "Tomorrow, do it again. But this time, don't ask the price of the watch. Ask them, how much is the time inside the watch worth?" The son froze. The value of time. The question sounded strange, even absurd. But the father's eyes remained calm. As always, no hint of joking. No further explanation. "Just go," he said. The next day, the boy returned to the market. But this time, he felt uneasy. Standing before the same fabric seller, he hesitated before asking, "Can you tell me how much the time inside this watch is worth?" The man looked at him and laughed. "Are you joking? Since when does time have a price?" Embarrassed, the boy quickly walked away. At the next stall, he asked again. The shopkeeper frowned. "Don't waste my time with meaningless questions." Another person waved him off. "Go away, kid. No one buys something like that." The more he asked, the more he was met with headshakes, confused looks, and even irritation. No one answered seriously like the day before. This time, he didn't just feel confused, he felt ashamed. He began to slow down. His steps were no longer as light as before. In his mind, the question kept repeating, what is the value of time? He realized he had never thought about it before. To him, time had always been something that simply existed. One day passed, and another came. Nothing changed. Nothing was lost, or at least, that was what he had believed. But today, amid laughter and rejection, for the first time, the question felt heavy. The sun slowly sank lower. He was about to return home, ready to give up on this strange task. But just then, in a quiet corner of the market, he noticed a small shop he had never paid attention to before. It was a watch repair shop. Not noisy, not crowded. Inside, hung clocks of all kinds, big and small, all ticking in steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of time itself. Behind the counter stood an old man with silver hair, carefully repairing a small watch with slow, precise movements. The boy stood at the doorway for a moment, then stepped inside. With little hope left, he asked the familiar question again, this time in a softer voice. Can you tell me how much the time inside this watch is worth? The old man paused. He did not laugh. He did not show irritation. He looked up at the boy, his gaze deep and calm. The shop grew quieter than ever. Only the ticking of the clocks filled the air. And for the first time, the boy felt that, perhaps, he was about to receive a real answer. The old man placed the watch on the table, looked at the boy for a long moment, then slowly said, "This watch may have a price. One person offers less, another offers more, but the time inside it has no price." The boy fell silent. The old man continued, "You can buy a new watch any time, but you cannot buy back an hour that has passed. No matter how much money you have, how many opportunities, a moment once lost will never return." His words were not loud or harsh, yet they struck directly at something the boy had never considered. For the first time, he clearly felt that time was not something always available. It was something quietly leaving him every single day. He lowered his head and softly said, "I understand now." The old man simply smiled. "If you understand, then don't just understand. Change." On the way home, everything seemed the same. The familiar road, the noisy market, people hurrying past. But inside him, something had changed. The hours he had once wasted now became clearer than ever before. That evening, he told his father everything. The father did not say much, only nodded gently. He knew the lesson had reached a place that words alone could not touch. From the next day on, the boy began to change, not with grand transformations, but with small steps, waking up a little earlier, working a little harder, thinking more seriously about his future. And those small changes, repeated every day, slowly shaped him into a different person. This story is not just about him, because each of us has 24 hours a day, no more, no less. The difference lies not in who has more time, but in who knows how to value and use it wisely. In the end, time is not something you can hold on to. It is something you can only use while it is still in your hands.